You know what, guys? Today I decided to do something a bit different, out of the ordinary. I decided to talk to you about relationships. Well, yeah. Uh, I've never been one for relationships myself, uh, but it's it's just something that's been, you know, hammering my mind of late, and I just thought, hey, let's just make a speech about it, put it on YouTube, let everyone see it, abuse it as usual, post it on Twitter, let it go across the whole net, get abused for it, whatever. But let's think about this. Okay, so boys, I'm referring to the boys here. Okay, why are we so interested in girls? Why? Why are we so attracted to the opposite sex? And I wonder that myself. Why? What is it in these creatures, excuse me, ladies, that that we find so attractive? Now, I'm obviously inclusive in this. I'm not excluding myself from this at all. Why do we find women attractive? Now, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just, making this up off the top of my head. But I think one of the things we need to consider, and this may sound really awkward, but I'll say it anyway because no one else is in the room, and oh, yeah, sorry, no one else is in this room, so it's the features, isn't it? It's I don't need to go into detail. You know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. It's the features. Goals are often defined by features. Now, this may be very awkward for girls listening to this if you're in a room full of boys, as I am, as it is at my church youth group, if you're watching it there. But hey, uh, it's weird, but I think that features do play a dominant role in what we class to be as attractive and not. Well, I kind of distance myself from that. Uh, I, yeah, I'm not in that bracket. But there are a lot of boys out there, and I've heard it myself. I'm a bit of an eavesdropper at times, and they're always talking about features. I don't need to, go into detail about what they say as such, but you know, it happens, and uh, yeah, it happens in our church actually. I'm not gonna, throw out names or whatever, but you know who you are. You sit on the bench, just looking at the girls, and I just watch you. I mean, I don't like watch you in that way, but I just like anyway. But you know where I'm coming from. So I think that's one of the reasons we. Is this really about relationships, or is this just me going on a? This is me going on a tangent, really. Like, I don't even know what I'm saying. I just, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so features is an integral part of why we, as boys, find girls attractive. But there are other factors as well. Another factor would be skin colour. I do think, and I don't think we can hide away from this, that some boys have preferences with reference to skin colour in terms of, who they find attractive, who they don't. Now, this may not necessarily be seen as a racist thing, but at the same time, I don't really know. Um, it's I don't know, it's just very judgmental, isn't it? Like, all girls are different, but some guys would just be like, nope, that's a white girl, I don't like her. That's a black girl, nope, Asian, mixed, whatever. But yeah, I think that's another thing us as boys are very judgmental upon. Skin tone. Um, like, yeah. Uh, yeah, enough said on that. Um, what else? Alright, so what else do we as boys look at in girls as such? I think maybe another thing might be how rich they are, what they can afford, what they're wearing. I think if you see a girl dressed head to toe in Ralph Lauren, then you're going to be, or some boys are a lot more attracted to that type of girl, you know, with an iPhone in her hand, Louis Vuitton bag in the other, than a girl sporting, uh, you know, shoe like I don't know, £10 shoes, uh, I don't know, how do I just like some dress from like Primark or something. I don't know. Good day to you too. But yeah, I think that's like another thing we need to consider uh, in reference to this. So how much money they have, and not necessarily like go and check in their bank accounts and stuff, but just like material items. So clothes, phones, bags, stuff like that. Now, obviously, I can only speak from a boy's point of view, so this is really only aimed at from a boy's perspective on what we look at in you girls. I can't really speak from a girl's perspective because, as you know, I'm not a girl. So, yeah. Anyway, what else? So, us boys, what do we look at in girls? Intelligence. Uh, I'd probably put myself in a bracket like this bracket slightly. I think that in terms of intelligence, a girl needs to be not necessarily like massively brainy, like knows everything, but at the same time, not completely like not with it. Now, this is me speaking personally. Like a lot of guys don't look at that stuff, and they'll worry about that afterwards. But this is one of the things. These are one of the things I look at in a girl, like her ambitions, her dreams, where she's at now. Um, Now, a bit more on a serious note, another thing guys look at, or some guys look at, or should look at, is whether a girl's a Christian or not. And I know it's hard for guys at times because you go to clubs, you like a girl, and you know you don't want to go asking a girl, "What, you Christian or something?" You know, like, you know, it's just not something you ask a girl, at least when you first meet her. But I think again that's a very important thing uh, you need to consider um, when choosing a girl. And some guys actually look out for stuff like that, like if you're serious about it and stuff. But others, myself included, won't really regard that as important. Um, I don't know. My reasoning being that she may not be a Christian now, but you could turn her into one. I don't know. So yeah, but that's another reason. Another thing guys look for in girls. What else? Sense of humor. Um, now, uh, my sense of humor is very dry. You may have already noticed that, but I have a very dry sense of humor. Um, and a lot of girls love a guy. Oh, this is me talking from a girl's perspective now. No, I should be talking from a boy's perspective. Or no, I can talk from a girl's perspective. At least on this one, because I've spoken to girls about it. Girls like a funny guy, or at least boys who have told me that girls like funny guys. Like it's one of the things they look for because they're easier to relate to, less awkward situations, and I don't know, they're more likely to innovate in those awkward situations. You know, and it's just like really weird and then, you know, he's the kind of guy who would just like crack a joke and then make everyone laugh and the awkward situation goes away. Me, I'd just, you know, sit there and wait for it to die down, wait for someone else to say something. But that's me personally, and this isn't about me, so moving on. Intelligence. Where you come from? Skin color. Um, Hobbies, I suppose. A lot of guys, well, may be attracted to a girly girl, i.e. a girl who likes typically girly stuff, i.e. What the girls like. Horse riding, stuff like that. Yeah, guys might be more interested in that kind of girl than a girl who likes, for instance, rugby or football. Tomboys, they're commonly known as. But on the other hand, some guys might actually be more into that type of girl than a girly girl, so to speak. So another thing guys look for, what like girls' interests, hobbies, etc. Ambitions, I've already slightly covered this topic a bit, but I'll go back to it. A guy, myself included, like, I look at where does this girl want to go in life. Like, to be honest, like, a lot of guys won't want to go marrying a girl who doesn't have any sense of direction and is simply just gonna is planning to, you know, laze around all day and, you know, live essentially off of like husbands or husband to be's money. Like, a guy would want a girl to go out there and work for themselves, and a guy would want a girl to know where she's going from the outset. So I don't know. So he knows that he's never going to be in that kind of situation where the girl's just relying on the guy for everything, and he's stuck in that situation because he's married to her, and you know he's got to pay some amount of money if he wants to get out of that, which he may not be able, which he may not be able to afford. So another thing, ambition. Um, Another topic, going off on a slight tangent here. Getting married. Now, I personally, as of now, as we speak, and this is 1st of June, Saturday, 1st of June, 2013. I don't want to get married. I have my reasons. I may as well tell you. My reasons being, okay, now these may not be necessarily the right reasons, but they're reasons nonetheless. Reason number one, effort. Like, taking your family out for meals and cleaning the house for the sake of your kids and going to work and spending all that money on your kids. Money's slightly different, but I'll go into that in a minute. That is, I don't know, it just doesn't seem appealing to me at all. I'd like to, you know, work for myself as opposed to working for a family. Now that may not be the right way of thinking about things, but that's how I think about it, so live with it. Uh, Sorry. Secondly, money. I don't like the idea of having to work so hard to spend on a family, or spend my income on a family. Like, I'd rather just work for myself and spend on myself as I've earned my own money. So that's reason number 2. Number 3, time. If you're not married and you're not in a relationship as such, you've got a lot more time for recreational activity that you may not have had if you were in a relationship. So stuff like bowling with friends, watching movies, fast food restaurants, whatever. You can do that stuff, but you can't really do that if you have a a wife there and kids there that you constantly need to focus on and spend time on. So again, time's another important issue of mine, that that is contributes to why I don't want to get married. Now, some people may disagree with me. They may argue that there's a sense of fulfillment in getting married. You're carrying on a family line, so to speak. So it's not just ending at you, but you're carrying on, like giving to the next generation. So that says in the Bible. Does it say in the Bible? I think it says in the Bible, and I was actually talking to my youth leader the other day about this, and he said that God would actually prefer you not to get married, but not for the reasons I've listed, so effort, money, and time, but because if you're not married, that's more time spent on God as opposed to more time spent on your family, and God respects that more. And I'm not saying that getting married is a bad thing, but when you get married, that's something to consider, or when you're thinking about getting married. Like, a lot of you watching this won't be that age yet, 14, 15, 17, 18, whatever, maybe, but again, that's something to think about. So, if I get married, how much time am I going to be spending on God? Like, some of you still maybe a lot, some maybe not so much. So that's another thing. And I'd like to hear your opinions on it, really, because I don't know. I've had discussions with people about this, like getting married, and my grandmother actually went as far as saying it was sick if you don't get married, which I think is a bit outlandish, but sick as in like sick, as in mentally ill, like you must be mentally ill if you don't get married, which I don't take that perspective personally, but obviously she's grown up in a society where everyone gets married, so it's the norm, and it's out of the norm if you don't. So again, another thing for you to consider. Um, let's see. Okay, so married. So what other reasons are there to get married? Talking about kids, Bible, fulfillment. Maybe, yeah, fulfillment, purpose. That comes under the same kind of thing. Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's that bit done. My next kind of thing is this whole thing of sex. Now, I understand, and it says very clearly in the Bible that you must not have sex before marriage, and that's very explicitly mentioned in the Bible. Um, Now, what does that mean from my perspective? Does that mean that I can't have sex because I don't get married? Yeah, essentially. Um, as a Christian, or as a developing Christian at least, or as a believer of Christ in some form, I believe that I have to respect that. I have to respect that through my choice not to get married, I also choose not to have sex. And of course, there's a whole host of benefits of having sex, which you guys, I don't know, many of you listening probably find it awkward to hear, but yeah, there's a whole host of benefits, but also consequences. I'll quickly run through them. So, benefits of having sex. Um, Enjoyment, obviously. That sense of unity, so two bodies becoming one. uh, reproduction, so creating a child. Uh, yeah, that's all I can think of really. 3 reasons: reproduction, unity, and enjoyment. And on the other hand, a few negative or consequent, really consequences, but disadvantages of having sex. Of course, there's a chance that you could contract, and is it contract? Contract a virus, STD, sexually transmitted disease. You could essentially or possibly get one of those if you have sex. Um, and you know, guys, even with the use of a condom, sometimes it breaks. Sometimes like there's a hole slit in it somehow, and you know, STDs could be transmitted that way. Other negative, I don't know, like uh, um, uh, there's a few more. They'll probably come to me when I'm speaking, but yeah. So yeah, again, tell me your thoughts on that. If like not in an awkward way, but yeah, like tell me what you think sex is about. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Whatever. Um, yeah. Uh, so relationships, sex, marriage. Um, okay, so my advice on how to. Well, this is my okay. This again is completely different from marriage, sex, and relationships. Well, it's kind of related to relationships, but not in the sense that we've been talking about. So, here's my advice to guys on how to ask a girl out, and it's probably going to be very useless to a lot of you. Um, I'm just passing the time here. But anyway, so here's my tips on how to ask a girl out. And I've gone wrong before, so you know I know the do's and don'ts. Um, Step one: get to know the girl. And when I say get to know the girl, I'm not just talking a week or 2 weeks. I'm talking, minimum a month, month and a half, 2 months, that kind of time phase, because then you get to know what she's about. She gets to know what you I don't keep messing words up. You're about, and in that way, you can kind of get an idea on, is this the ideal kind of partner for me? So get to know the girl, step one. Step two, and this is kind of like the getting into a process. So like the actual stage of asking the girl out. So don't make it too obvious, guys. Like I've noticed that girls play hard to get. So if a girl says no, she doesn't like you in that way, she might actually like you in that way, but she's just saying that because she doesn't want to seem too easy. Because then you might not appreciate her, and girls are like, oh, you have to work for me.